An extremely steep and dangerous mountain stood on one side of the main road, like a giant python. Clusters of black vapors continued to rise and covered the sky within a 100-meter radius. No ferocious beast dared to step within this territory because this place was the territory of the ancient heaven demon python. The ancient heaven demon python was an extremely rare mutated beast. If one were to look in terms of seniority, its bloodline was considered to be relatively close to that of some ancient ancestors within the snake clan, but its murderous desire was too strong, causing its intelligence to be far inferior to the 9 serene deep-ground python tribe. Hence, the 9 serene deep-ground python looked down on the ancient heaven demon python. After all, it was merely a killing machine that possessed great strength and did not possess any intelligence. The blood of the ancient heaven demon python was good at tempering and refining one's physical body. Of course, Xiao Yan's current body was relatively strong after having been refined by various natural treasures. An ordinary treasure could no longer strengthen Xiao Yan's body anymore, and even the heaven demon python's blood wouldn't be able to do much. Therefore, the thing that he was targeting was not the ancient heaven demon python's blood. Instead, it was the heaven demon blood pool that it had spent hundreds of years accumulating. This heaven demon blood pool was filled with natural treasures and a pure energy that the ancient heaven demon python had spent great effort to find over hundreds of years or longer. As time progressed, the energy gathered within it reaches an extremely terrifying level. If an ordinary person were to step into it, that person's body would burst apart because of the frightening energy. Only the descendants of the ancient heaven demon python could endure it. Of course, nothing was absolute. Something that others could not endure did not mean that Xiao Yan could not endure it. His body's strength was no longer weaker than some magical beasts after undergoing various refinements and strengthenings. Hence, the heaven demon blood pool was the perfect nourishment for him. This time around, he might not only be able to train the King Kong glass body until the peak, he also might use the opportunity to break through to the 9th star of the Dou Zun class. At that moment, his strength would significantly soar. He would benefit if his strength increased while roaming this ancient wasteland region that was filled with danger. The ancient heaven demon python is here. Yun softly informed them when she arrived a short distance from the large mountain where black fog lingered. Xiao Yan nodded with excited eyes. He did not speak much as he said in a deep voice, "Let's go. Prepare to attack." Xiao Yan's figure turned into a black shadow after his words sounded, and he swiftly rushed toward that enormous black mountain. Kai Lin, Qing Lin, the little fairy doctor, and the rest quickly followed behind him. The group from the flower sect hesitated for a moment before they followed Yun and gave chase. Xiao Yan's group suppressed their auras until they were very weak. They quickly charged into the thick black fog that lingered around the mountain. An extremely deafening snake hiss was suddenly emitted. Soon after, the entire mountain trembled, and one could hear many sounds of whistling wind appear. A 1,000-foot-long black snake tail shot out from the mountain with lightning-like speed. It ruthlessly slammed toward Xiao Yan's group. Humph! Seeing that the senses of this ancient heaven demon serpent were so sharp, Xiao Yan let out a cold snort and quickly took 2 steps forward. A bright golden light suddenly erupted from his body, and in the blink of an eye, his skinny figure suddenly swelled until he was 70 feet tall. He appeared like a shiny golden giant. After using the King Kong glass body, Xiao Yan's large hands, which appeared to be made of gold, were suddenly thrown forward. Both of his fists ruthlessly collided with that enormous black serpent tail. Bang! A frightening wind raged when the two clashed before exploding. Fortunately, the people present were not mediocre individuals, so they did not suffer much damage. A storm surged and the golden giant that Xiao Yan had transformed into was forced to take 2 steps back. However, that enormous black snake tail was also forced back. Its scales had been significantly damaged. After activating the King Kong glass body, Xiao Yan's physical body had been strengthened to a frightening level. Roar! Having suffered a slight loss, a furious, earth-shaking roar quickly resonated across the sky. The roar was filled with violence. Soon after, the entire mountain began to quiver. Finally, one could hear a loud bang as a 1,000-foot-long black python shot out of the towering mountain. This black giant python was huge. Its entire body was covered with scales, and a dense layer of black fog lingered over these scales. The head of the giant python was relatively terrifying because it was not an ordinary snake face. At a glance, it appeared more like a ferocious giant human's face. It gave one the chills when one looked at it. No wonder this monster was called the Heaven Demon Python. Dark clouds began to gather in the sky the moment this ancient Heaven Demon Python appeared, and a terrifying black energy agglomerated within the clouds with lightning-like speed. It was relatively powerful. Its large red eyes, which were at least 10 feet in size, appeared like two enormous red lamps hanging in the sky. They were filled with violence and murderous intent as they stared at Xiao Yan's group. Everyone's expression involuntarily changed as they looked at the enormous being lingering in the sky. This ancient Heaven Demon Python was indeed not an ordinary creature. Attack! Xiao Yan's eyes stared at the Heaven Demon Python as he cried out in a deep voice. This big fellow had reached the strength of a 5-change peak Dou Zun. He could only rely on everyone attacking together if he did not use the Angry Buddha Lotus Flame. Understood. Kai Lin nodded when she heard Xiao Yan's cry. Her delicate figure leaped forward as she turned into a 7-colored heaven-swallowing python that was not any smaller than the ancient Heaven Demon Python within the churning clouds. An invisible pressure spread, causing the ferocity of the Heaven Demon Python to diminish. In terms of bloodline purity, a Heaven Demon Python could not compare to this heaven-swallowing python, which was able to challenge the ancient Heaven Serpent during the ancient times. However, this Heaven Demon Python was still an unusually violent and ferocious creature. Hence, the little pressure that it sensed was unable to hinder its killing intent. Forget about the heaven-swallowing python. Even if a genuine ancient Heaven Serpent were to arrive, this red-eyed fellow would still dare to bite it. Bang! Clouds churned in the sky. Kai Lin, who had turned into the heaven-swallowing python, summoned numerous enormous colorful thunderbolts, after which they continuously struck the Heaven Demon Python. Puff! That Heaven Demon Python opened its large ferocious mouth as Kai Lin attacked. Many black lights that were filled with a stench were spat out and received all those colorful thunderbolts. Although it was a little inferior to the heaven-swallowing python in terms of its bloodline, its strength far surpassed Kai Lin. Hence, it held the upper hand in this fight. Bang! The golden giant that Xiao Yan had transformed into turned into a golden light that arrived in front of the Heaven Demon Python in a flash while it was busy unleashing its attack. A frightening storm immediately formed under his fist as it ruthlessly smashed against the Heaven Demon Python's body. Ayo! This merciless punch from Xiao Yan scattered the black fog around the Heaven Demon Python. Even the black scales on its body were blasted apart. Elder Qing Chen, Yun Yun, the little fairy doctor, and the rest unleashed their attacks when Xiao Yan struck. Frightening Do Chi whistled across the sky and landed on the body of the Heaven Demon Python from all directions. The air that was blasted apart was something that even the Heaven Demon Python could not endure. Chi. However, this Heaven Demon Python was quite ferocious. Its huge eyes were bloody red as it ignored the many air explosions on its body. It swung its huge tail and ruthlessly struck Xiao Yan, who had caused it the most harm. Clang! The enormous snake tail heavily smashed into Xiao Yan's body, emitting the clear sound of metal colliding. Sparks flew in the process. Humph! Xiao Yan's throat emitted a muffled moan after suffering such a serious blow. He forcefully endured the frightening strength as he reached out with his hands and firmly grabbed the heaven demon python's huge tail. Soon after, a purple-brown flame suddenly gushed out of his body and swiftly traveled down the heaven demon python's body. It quickly incinerated the dense black fog. Hiss, hiss. The sudden terrifying temperature caused the heaven demon python to go crazy as its large body continued to wiggle. The surrounding tall mountains would be shattered into rock fragments if they were struck by its tail. It is really difficult to deal with this fellow. Everyone's heart involuntarily felt speechless when they saw the stubbornness of this heaven demon python. If Xiao Yin and Kai Lin were not pressuring it from the sky, it was likely that the remaining people would not be able to endure the force from just a swing of its tail. Xiao Yin held the heaven demon python with all his strength as one of his fists wildly smashed into its tail. A violent force and a hot flame smashed its tail until blood flowed like a river. Although this caused the heaven demon python to feel an immense amount of pain, it had also stirred its ferocious instincts. Its resistance became even more intense. Young Master Xiao Yin, force its eyes to look at me. A voice was suddenly transmitted into Xiao Yan's ears while he gradually started to feel like he wouldn't be able to hold the struggling heaven demon python. The voice caused him to brace his attention. That voice belonged to Qing Lin. Roar! Xiao Yin inhaled a deep breath of air. Dou Qi from his body poured into his arms. A frightening strength suddenly surged and forcefully maneuvered the heaven demon python's body, turning it in the process. That heaven demon python became furious as Xiao Yin repeatedly pulled and pushed it. It was planning to go crazy when a 5-foot-large jade-green demonic eye suddenly appeared in its sight. 3 green flowers rapidly rotated within the eye as a numb feeling, originating from deep within the heaven demon python's soul, caused its body to stiffen. It slowly became gentle. The murderous intent and violence within its large blood-red eyes quickly diminished. The 5-foot-large jade-green demon eye was imprinted into the huge eyes of the ancient heaven demon python. Wave after wave of a mysterious demonic force was emitted from the 3 rotating jade-green flowers, causing the murderous intent and violence in the heaven demon python's eyes to gradually fade. Xiao Yin sighed in relief when he saw the power of the demonic eye. Qing Lin's triple jade-green snake flower pupils possessed an extremely powerful ability to control snake-formed magical beasts. However, he was uncertain whether Qing Lin's current strength would be able to control this ancient heaven demon python. After all, its strength was equivalent to a 5-change peak Dou Zun. Hiss! This thought had just flashed within Xiao Yan's heart when the eyes of the heaven demon python, which had gradually grown dimmer, began to struggle. Its large body suddenly shook at the same time. Wave after wave of frightening black fog continued to spread from its body. It seemed to have detected Qing Lin's intention and was resisting in an uncontrolled fashion. A ferocious beast that could train to such an extent could not be dealt with so easily regardless of how unintelligent it was. It is indeed not easy to deal with this beast. Shock rose within Xiao Yan's heart upon sensing that this ancient heaven demon python was able to rely on its own strength to resist the triple jade-green snake flower pupils. He immediately threw a punch forward. A large cluster of heavenly flames surged out and swiftly lingered around the ancient heaven demon python's body, quickly vaporizing the black fog. Suppress it! Xiao Yin cried out in a deep voice when he attacked. The 7-colored heaven swallowing python formed by Kai Lin in the sky suddenly curled up upon hearing Xiao Yan's cry. An invisible pressure surged out and poured onto the ancient heaven demon python. A suppression that originated from deep within its soul immediately caused the black fog on its body to retreat. At the same time, the little fairy doctor, Yun Yun, Elder Qing Cheng, and the others unleashed many large Dou Qi pillars. These were like ropes that restricted the ancient heaven demon python. Even though the ancient heaven demon python was powerful, it was unable to struggle for a moment when faced with such a heavy pressure. Its ferocious mouth continued to emit a furious roar that caused the entire mountain to tremble. "Qing Lin, quick!" Xiao Yin cried out upon sensing the untamed struggle of the ancient heaven demon python. "Aye." Qing Lin slightly nodded. She quickly inhaled a deep breath. Both of her hands spread like a blooming lotus as she formed many complicated and mysterious seals. After the formation of these seals, an extremely deep roar was vaguely emitted from her body. The space behind Qing Lin became distorted when this roar, which contained a pressure from ancient times, appeared. A 10,000-foot-long snake-shaped illusory figure formed. The body of this illusory figure emitted an extremely ancient aura, and it possessed 9 snake heads. Surprisingly, it was the 9-headed heaven serpent that Xiao Yin had seen back then. The wildly struggling ancient heaven demon serpent's body shook the moment that 9-headed heaven serpent illusory figure appeared. Both of its eyes finally revealed a dense fear. Faced with 2 ancient snake bloodlines' ancestor pressures, even this extremely violent heaven demon python trembled. Triple jade green snake flower pupils, demon eye, open. After summoning the 9-headed heavenly serpent illusory figure to completely suppress the heaven demon python soul, 3 jade green flowers suddenly quivered before they slowly bloomed. A jade green bone-chilling demonic pupil was present at the intersection of the 3 flowers. It seemed to have awoken as it slowly opened. The space in front of Qing Lin cracked the moment this eye was opened. The enormous body of the ancient heaven demon python stilled in an instant. "Stand back." Xiao Yan's eyes focused on this demonic eye. His mind immediately became absent as his heart became shocked. He hurriedly released the heaven demon python and quickly pulled back. At the same time, he also shouted a warning to everyone. The others understood that Qing Lin's demon eye did not discriminate between enemies and allies when they saw Xiao Yan retreat. They hurriedly scattered and did not dare stand close to her. Qing Lin's triple jade green snake flower pupils are really frightening. If I was someone from the snake tribe, I would have ended up like the heaven demon python. Xiao Yan withdrew by a great distance. The current Qing Lin was able to control a little of the 9-headed heaven serpent's strength. If she completely summoned the 9-headed heaven serpent, she would be even more frightening. After all, the ancient heaven serpent was an existence that could be compared to an ancient void dragon and the ancient heaven phoenix. The demonic and unusual eye slowly rotated as a thumb-sized jade-green light ray suddenly erupted from it. This light ray left an imprint on the stiff heaven demon python's head with lightning-like speed. Immediately, a palm-sized green flower surfaced. The remaining violence within the large eyes of the ancient heaven demon python quickly disappeared when this green flower appeared. A gentle emptiness replaced it. Is it successful? A joy flashed across Xiao Yan's eyes when he saw the ancient heaven demon serpent pause in the sky. If Qing Lin was truly able to control this big creature, the strength of their group would undoubtedly soar. The strength of a 5-change peak Dou Zun was still quite a powerful existence even in this ancient wasteland region. Who? Qing Lin slowly shut her eyes when the flower was formed. The enormous 9-headed heaven serpent's illusory figure behind her also slowly disappeared. That ancient pressure that permeated the sky quietly paled. Qi. The enormous 7-colored heaven, swallowing python once again transformed into an enchanting figure that hurried down. She used a surprised gaze that glanced at Qing Lin. The 9-headed heaven python that Qing Lin had summoned caused even her to feel afraid. This kind of abnormal existence was likely something that only those legendary 9-colored heaven swallowing python could contend with. Have you controlled it? Xiao Yan's body swiftly transformed back to his original form as the golden light surged. He appeared beside Qing Lin and asked, "Aye. Fortunately, we have exhausted quite a lot of its strength. Additionally, there is elder sister Kai Lin's spiritual pressure. Otherwise, I would not have been able to subdue this fellow." Qing Lin laughed. "That's good, hurry up. Let's go and find the Heaven Demon Blood Pool." Xiao Yin sighed in relief, after which he turned to the enormous mountain with a black fog permeating over it. His eyes vaguely contained some heat. His body moved, and he rushed toward the mountain, after which Kai Lin, the little fairy doctor, and the rest quickly followed. This mountain was extremely dangerous and large, but there were no other ferocious beasts living around it. They had all been expelled by this ancient heaven demon python. This had saved Xiao Yan's group some trouble, so they followed the energy ripple that was vaguely emitted from the mountain and quickly found the heaven demon python's cave. The heaven demon python's cave was located in the middle of this mountain. It was a dark, cold, and moist place. White bones were piled high, and some of these bones were that of humans. It was a wonder just which unlucky people had become food for this heaven demon python. The group knit their brows and wandered around these piles of bones before stopping at the end of this cave. The end of the cave was scarlet and rocky. There was 100-foot wide pool in the middle of these messy rocks. The interior of the pool was saturated with a scarlet blood. Occasionally, some bloody bubbles would rise from the blood pool. The bloody bubbles burst and an extremely dense energy spread from them. Some beast bones were still floating in the blood pool. From the looks of it, that violent heaven demon python had even thrown some ferocious beasts inside. Is this the heaven demon blood pool? The little fairy doctor involuntarily asked. Her skin had turned numb upon seeing this scarlet color. Yes, it should be this thing. Xiao Yin slightly nodded. He could sense that the interior of this blood pool contained an extremely dense energy. It seemed that this heaven demon python had put in a great amount of effort in order to form this blood pool. Unfortunately, it had ended up benefiting Xiao Yin. I might delay for 2 to 3 days in this place. Qing Lin, you should summon the ancient heaven demon python to continue guarding the mountain during this period of time. Even if there are some experts passing by, they will not offend an existence like it for no reason. Xiao Yin turned to Qing Lin as he spoke. Understood. Qing Lin nodded after hearing his orders. Will there be any danger? Kai Lin glanced at the scarlet blood as she frowned and asked. Haha, you can rest assured. Although the energy inside is violent, it is not at a level where it cannot be endured. Xiao Yin shook his head as he replied. Since this is the case, you should be careful. Send a signal if there is an unexpected change. Kai Lin was unable to say anything else when she saw Xiao Yan's insistence. She issued an instruction before leading everyone to slowly withdraw. Xiao Yin smiled when he saw everyone gradually withdraw. Only then did he turn his body. His expression was a little grave as he looked at the pool of blood in front of him. The energy inside was a lot more violent than he had expected. He wondered just what the heaven demon python had thrown in. My constitution is strong to begin with. Additionally, there is the dragon phoenix ancient armor hiding in my body. I do not believe that I cannot do anything to this heaven demon blood pool. Xiao Yin stood beside the blood pool and mused for a moment. He gave a cold smile and pressed his toes on the ground. His body leaped into the blood pool without hesitation, after which a splash was emitted as he landed in the blood pool. Chi-chi. After Xiao Yin landed inside the blood pool, the originally quiet heaven demon blood pool immediately began to boil. Countless blood bubbles continued to rise. A thunder-like mysterious sound quietly appeared. It immediately spread into the distance. Pain. A bone-deep, intense pain. Pain was the only thing Xiao Yin felt after leaping into the heaven demon blood pool. The interior of the pool was filled with an extremely wild and violent energy. This energy appeared to have been stirred as it struck Xiao Yan's body from all directions like countless poisonous snakes. The ancient heavenly demon python had thrown some unknown things into this blood pool, causing it to boast some extremely strong corrosive properties. Wisps of white smoke erupted the moment the tendrils came into contact with Xiao Yan's skin, which resulted in an intense pain that drilled into one's heart. Hiss! Xiao Yan inhaled a violent, cool breath in his heart because of this intense pain. His hand's seal subsequently changed, and his heavenly flame erupted from his body. It turned into a circular flame barrier that covered him. I do not believe that I am unable to deal with you, a mere heaven demon blood pool, since I was able to finish off your creator. Sizzle, sizzle. The wild and violent energy that had erupted immediately emitted a sizzling sound the moment the heavenly flame appeared. This energy was vaporized by the heavenly flame. The remaining energy gradually became gentle after being refined by the heavenly flame. It turned into unusually pure energy that seeped into Xiao Yan's body. Who? Xiao Yan only sighed in relief after sensing that the energy had become a little more gentle. The heavenly flame was only able to refine the corrosive properties that could harm him. The remaining energy was beneficial to Xiao Yan and would pour into his body after being refined. As wave after wave of gentle pure energy continued to surge into Xiao Yan's body, he could feel these energy roaming around his skin, muscles, and bones. Each time this energy disappeared, Xiao Yan clearly sensed the strength of his body grow stronger at a slow rate. This place is indeed a perfect training ground. Joy involuntarily rose within Xiao Yan's heart when he sensed the slight change in his body. With this progress, he would be able to rely on the energy of this blood pool to train the King Kong glass body to its peak, and he would be able to break through the 8th star and advance to a 9th star Dou Zun. The energy in this heaven demon blood pool was quite terrifying after having accumulated natural treasures that had been gathered by the heaven demon python over hundreds of years. But this was only from Xiao Yan's perspective. The energy within the blood pool might be terrifying, but it was also impure. The heaven demon python was a brutal creature with low intelligence and a powerful physical body. Even if its cubs were to absorb this energy, it would only allow them to evolve quickly. If any other human were to attempt to absorb it, the interior of their body would turn into a mess by this impure energy. At that time, not only would one's strength fail to advance, but one's many years of bitter training might also be ruined. Fortunately, this kind of modeled energy did not pose too much of a problem to Xiao Yan since he possessed a heavenly flame. Under the frightening temperature of the heavenly flame, any impurities instantly disappeared. Xiao Yan crossed his legs and sat in the blood pool as an increasing amount of energy poured into his body. He merely sat in the blood pool, waiting. Both of his eyes were tightly shut as he quietly waited for the moment of his breakthrough. 2 days passed by in the blink of an eye, while Xiao Yan was quietly training. Kailin, Little Fairy Doctor, Yun Yun, and the others had remained at this mountain belonging to the heaven demon python during these 2 days. This place was considered quite safe due to there being no ferocious beasts around. The ancient heaven demon python that was under Qing Lin's control had been released. It simply entrenched itself on the mountain top and spat out a dense black fog all day long. Quite a number of experts arriving in this place during these 2 days, but their expressions changed and they chose to take a detour when they saw this big fellow. Everyone knew the brutalness of these ferocious beasts when they went all out. Moreover, this ferocious beast was at the peak of the Dou Zun class. There would definitely be injuries and death if they fought it. Those who had come to this place seemed to be after the Bodhisattva ancient tree, who would come and engage in an all-out battle with a red-eyed ferocious beast for no reason. By relying on the ferocity of the heaven demon python, Everyone lived in peace during these 2 days. They quietly waited for Xiao Yan to successfully exit his retreat. The water in the blood pool deep inside the cave had already been reduced by half, and the scarlet hue of the water had diminished. Over half of the energy within it had disappeared as Xiao Yan devoured it during these 2 days. A figure with half his body exposed was present in the middle of the blood pool. The skin of the current Xiao Yan was a lot more rosy compared to 2 days ago. It seemed as though there was an endless amount of blood hidden under his skin. At this moment, Xiao Yan's eyes were still tightly shut. His entire body did not move, appearing just like a statue. However, everyone could sense an extremely powerful energy brewing within Xiao Yan's body at this moment. This energy was like a volcano that was about to erupt. It was searching for the opportunity to break through. This opportunity was something that one needed to wait for. The water in the Heaven Demon blood pool continued to reduce as everyone waited. When the third day arrived, the water within the Heaven Demon blood pool was exhausted. A countless number of dense white bones were revealed in the Heaven Demon blood pool after the water was exhausted. These bones contained some strange, unknown things in them. A rich bloody scent spread from them, while Xiao Yan sat like a statue surrounded by these many bones. A blood-colored light was quietly circulating under his skin. This quietness continued for around 2 hours before an invisible ripple suddenly swept away from Xiao Yan's body. Bang! This invisible fluctuation erupted, and in an instant, it had shattered those bones in the blood pool into dust. The ripple continued to spread, and it collided on the mountain wall. Even the entire cave trembled. Xiao Yan's aura suddenly soared when this invisible fluctuation was emitted. This soaring was basically instantaneous. It was like a volcano erupting, appearing as fast as lightning and as ferocious as thunder. Bang! The soar in his aura merely lasted for a moment before a low, muffled sound appeared from deep within Xiao Yan's soul. The Dou Qi in his body widely soared at this moment. His long hair danced as his robes fluttered. Many cracks swiftly spread from the spot he sat. They covered the blood pool basin in the blink of an eye. Bang! Xiao Yan's tightly shut eyes were suddenly opened when this sound from deep within his soul appeared. A blood glow lingered in his eyes. King Kong glass body. After this cry was emitted from Xiao Yan's throat, a golden light began to radiate from his body. His body swelled quickly under this brilliant golden light. 10 feet, 30 feet, 50 feet, 70 feet, 80 feet. Xiao Yan's body continued to rapidly swell. In the blink of an eye, his body reached 80 feet in height. Moreover, it did not show any signs of stopping. Xiao Yan's body seemed to have met a kind of bottleneck the moment it swelled until it was 89 feet tall. The swelling swiftly slowed. However, Xiao Yan was unwilling to remain at this stage. His face turned flushed as he cried out. Bang! After this cry sounded, Xiao Yan's body, which had ceased swelling, suddenly became bigger once again. It reached 90 feet. A giant that seemed to be completely made from gold stood within the mountain. An overbearing, indestructible aura surged out of its body. Finally, the giant's legs curled as it suddenly stomped on the ground. Bang, bang, bang. This violent stomping caused the ground to sink by over 10 meters. That golden giant, which Xiao Yan had transformed into, emitted a swoosh sound as it violently collided with the top of the mountain cave like a cannonball. It continued to charge up and formed a large tunnel with its frightening strength. Xiao Yan seemed to have penetrated the mountain. His body charged toward the mountain peak from within the mountain with lightning-like speed. Boom! Xiao Yan's speed was extremely quick. In less than half a minute, a large tunnel formed within the mountain. Eventually, his body rose, and it broke through the top of the mountain while emitting a loud sound before appearing in the sky. Roar! The gigantic body with a golden luster paused in the sky. A breath was blocked in its throat. Finally, this breath turned into an earth-shaking roar that reverberated into the distance. Kai Lin's group had sensed something when Xiao Yin was forcefully breaking through the mountain. Hence, they rushed into the air and saw a giant golden figure tunneling through the mountain. His aura has soared. Has he successfully broken through to a 9-star Dou Zun? Kai Lin softly muttered when she sensed Xiao Yan's strong aura. Ha, Junior Pavilion Chief's training speed is really something to marvel at. Elder Qing Chun softly sighed. He had spent almost all of his life in order to reach this stage, yet Xiao Yin had already reached it at his young age. Moreover, Elder Qing Chun clearly understood that he might not be a match for Xiao Yin if they were to really fight. Those elders from the flower sect also exclaimed and nodded. When they had met Xiao Yin for the first time back then, he had merely been a 2-star Dou Zun. It had only been less than 2 years, but he had already reached the 9th star. This speed caused them to feel ashamed. Nailin Yinran's pretty eyes looked at the figure that was filled with an incomparably overbearing strength. A gloominess and self-ridicule flashed across her eyes. That man, whom she had viewed as trash back then and insisted on ending their engagement, had currently tossed her far behind him. The thing that caused her to feel depressed and helpless was that she seemed to have formed some faint feelings for this man, who would have become her husband. Even though she understood that it was only one-sided on her part. This is perhaps my retribution from back then, she thought in her heart.